Hi, I'm J.C.Hollywood. This is This Week in the 80s for the week beginning May 14th. The Australian dollar got a lot heavier on the 14th of May 1985 when the Royal Australian Mint issued the first official $1 coin. The coin featured a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II done by Arnold Machen, but it was replaced only a year later with one designed by Raphael McClough. In its first year of production, the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra produced over 180 million $1 coins. Still on the 14th of May, but 4 years later, 1988 saw Madison Square Garden play host to a 13-hour non-stop concert to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Atlantic Records. The performers were all artists that were signed to Atlantic at one time or another and included Laura Branigan, Phil Collins and Genesis, Yes, the Bee Gees, Bobby Darin, Wilson Pickett and Dan Aykroyd appearing as Elwood Blues. The evening culminated with a reunion performance by Led Zeppelin, with Jason Bonham taking his father's place on drums. Allegedly, Plant and Page argued backstage before the show, and hopes of a permanent reunion were soon squashed. Plant would later say, "The gig was foul." It's hard to overstate the impact that was made on May the 16th, 1983, when one man alone on stage pretty much just walked backwards. But the fact that that man was Michael Jackson and that he was debuting what was to become his signature move meant that that date would be etched in the memory of 80s kids all over the world. The move itself wasn't that new. Tap dancer Bill Bailey had done it in 1955, and that was just the first time it was captured on film. But what made Jackson's version so iconic was the way he seemed to defy the laws of physics, with his body's trajectory flowing independently of his movements. By the next day, schools all over the world were filled with kids in hush puppies trying to perfect the move on grass or tarmac, on the most forgiving of surfaces. And for those that perfected it, the move would become a fixture of blue light discos and high school formals for years to come. As a funny footnote, May the 16th in Australia also marked the day that Jackson's hit Billie Jean, the very song that he performed the move in, lost the #1 spot, falling to Red Gum's Vietnam opus, I Was Only 19. 1989 saw Madonna's Like a Prayer back in the #1 spot for the last time. After seeing off the Fine Young Cannibals, she had to regain the title from Micah and the Mechanics with their ponderous hit, The Living Years. She wouldn't be able to stand the chart battle that was about to come though, but we'll get to that in next week's episode. As we head into the American summer, we start to see some of the biggest and best films of the 80s being released. This week we had Fame in 1980, Conan the Barbarian in 1982, Footloose in 84, Top Gun in 86, and Willow in 1988. But the film I want to talk about today would go on to become one of the biggest flops in history despite debuting at #1. That film was 1987's Ishtar. Written and directed by Elaine May, a director already on the outs with Hollywood, Ishtar starred Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman as untalented songwriters who travel to a gig in Morocco only to find themselves in the middle of a Cold War standoff. The film, largely shot on location in Morocco, was beset by production difficulties, feuding egos, real-life political strife, and a budget that spiraled out of control. Though it opened at #1, the film only made back $14.3 million of an estimated $51 million budget, and would go on to become synonymous with the concept of the big-budget flop. Reviewer Gene Siskel described the film as shockingly dull and dim-witted. That's all we've got time for this week. I'm J.C.Hollywood. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you back here next week for more This Week in the 80s.